Hello and welcome to Fair Falcon Predictions. Today we will be talking a little bit about the Senate map and the outlook. Now, if you've watched my first video ever, it was regarding the United States House races in the entire country after all the maps had pretty much been done and litigated. So that's a lot of seats. So we only really did the safe colors, even though not everything was entirely safe, but the Senate map is obviously a lot less comprehensive, so we're going to be able to dive in a lot more to the details, or the nitty-gritty of how this is going to go. So without further ado, I'll hop in, and if I have any addendums, I'll just plug them in. So for starters, we're going to just go around and fill the safe states out. And I just want to say I'll be plugging things in that are interesting about the race, making some cross references, but I will be making governors videos and everything later. So we're going to start with South Carolina. It's safe Republican, and it will end up being by a much bigger margin than the 2018 governor's race or the amount that Lindsey Graham won by last time. Now, what I will say is the way I'm ranking these, I'm not doing 0 to 1 points for tilt, 1 to 5 for lean, 5 to 10 for likely, etc., etc. We're doing this based on common sense. For instance, South Carolina is a state by the margins that does, not in this year, but does often come down to 8 or 10 points. Striking distance for the Democrats trailing by. Now, this obviously, along with Mississippi, is one of the states where Democrats have the highest floor, no matter really what, because of the demographics of the state. Excuse me, I'm going to grab some water here for a second. Pardon me. But yeah, anyways, it doesn't mean they have a chance to win the state. They can't. It's so damn rigid. It's not elastic like a state like Wisconsin, like a state like Iowa several years ago. So we're just going to be doing this by common sense. There aren't any hard metrics to it. But yes, Tim Scott would also win by the type of system that the other predictors employ in regards to he's going to win by more than 15 points anyways for the safe. So moving on to the next safe Republican states, nothing to mention in South Dakota, nothing to mention in North Dakota, nothing to mention in Kansas. And Kansas and South Carolina were states that were likely last time. Now they're just safe. Nothing to mention really in Alaska in terms of what official party is going to win the seat. But I will say Lisa Murkowski is the heavy favorite, and frankly, she did even a little better than I expected in the election. So moving on to the states of Oklahoma, both the special and the safe, and the not safe, and the regular will be safe Republican, pardon me. Idaho, nothing to talk about here. Utah is interesting, but it's still safe Republican, but the margin will obviously be much closer than if they just nominated a Democrat, but it's still not going to happen. And then Kentucky, don't buy the grift, and thankfully people aren't buying the grift anywhere near as much as last time. It's kind of the fool me once, shame on me, fool me twice, shame on you, fool me 3 times. Lord, we better not even mention that. So also Indiana will be safe this time. There's no incumbent running. There's no strong Evan Baya running. So it's going to be the first nothing to see here race in quite a while. The state of Alabama, the general election was pretty much the primary runoff. State of Louisiana, they hold elections on weird days, still safe Republican for both. Same with the state of Arkansas, and I do think that wraps up all our safe Republican states. So we're at 43 to 36 Republican. Safe Democratic states, nothing to talk about in California. Padilla did even better than expected. Oregon will have a competitive governor's race, but nominating the same Q-Not nut as last time, Jo Ray Perkins. She's basically just pulling a John James in the state of Oregon. She is not going to win. It's safe Republican. I never bought the hype in Washington. It was safe Democratic. Sorry, I misspoke. Oregon is safe Democratic as well. Last time I miscolored. This time I misspoke. Not a big deal, though. Yeah, so it was never likely Democrat to really begin with. Tiffany Smiley would not win. The only reason to pour money into the race at any point was really just to help down ballot if they so deemed fit. And so New York, Chuck Schumer will do substantially worse than last time, but he still will not lose. Vermont will also be a seamless transition. Connecticut and Illinois Rick Scott, in the wake of Biden winning the election, was talking about how they could be competitive, but absolutely not, especially with the nominees, especially in Connecticut, not happening. The year didn't shape up that way. Maryland, Larry Hogan did not run as either a McMullen type or as a Republican, so it's safe Democratic. Now, I do think that does cover all of the safe Democratic states, so we're going to move on to the other states. And I do think I missed one safe Republican state, my bad. Iowa. Normally, in my head, it would be likely Republican, but it's safe, so that's why I kind of lost track of that. But yeah, Chuck Grassley will do worse than pretty much ever before, but it's still going to be safe hold. And Missouri, we can also move to safe Republican from likely Republican. So yeah, that's pretty much that. It's not going to be eventful. Moving on to the likely Republican states for real this time. North Carolina, that will be definitely for Bud. Beasley lost in a year that's bluer than this one will be. And frankly, she's not that good of a candidate, really. And I don't know if there's Green Party access, but I do think there's Libertarian. I don't know the situation with Matthew Ho right now. And it probably won't make a lot of difference in the end. You just have to use your logic along with polls sometimes, as well as demography, which I do like about Red Eagle on the demography point, how things go. Hawaii, sorry, I missed that. It's way down here. Safe Democratic, nothing to even mention. All right. So sorry about this out of order mess, guys, but you can tell this isn't scripted or anything like this. So we're keeping things natural and low-key here. The state of Ohio, it will be likely Republican. Vance is not doing great, but it's the state it is, and it's the environment it is, it's the trends it is. He should win by a similar margin to Trump in Ohio, not by much less or more. Florida, also likely Republican. I do think it will be closer than DeSantis. That's my hot take, but it's really not going to flip. I think that does it for the likely Republican states. I don't see any likely D states on this map besides Colorado here. And Joe O'Dea is a strong candidate, but let's be real here. The Republicans taking the red pill on Colorado are correct on that one. And so that does it for all the likely states, I believe. So we'll go on to lead next. Ron Johnson in the state of Wisconsin. This is lean Republican as a conservative type Democrat. I am very black-pilled on the state of Wisconsin. I do believe it is going to be the next sort of Ohio. And I do think that does it for the lean Republican states. Yes, I do think so. Lean Democratic, I don't see any lean Democratic seats on this map. So we're down to the tilts at this point. Very interesting. So a few weeks ago, I would have had Pennsylvania at lean Republican. Now it is tilt Republican. Dr. Oz and Mastriano both. I'll talk about them combined for a little bit. They are really testing my faith of whether or not a national environment can pull somebody over the finish line. I think it ultimately will, but these are bad candidates, and one or two more moves or a couple more cuts of the 1,000 cuts type small philosophy, and I'm going to have to shift it, but for now we will keep it as tilt Republican. The state of Georgia, this is going to be the last hurrah for the Republican Party in the state of Georgia on the statewide level for quite a few things, but I think all factors considered, Walker probably will oust Warnock. The polls are not that inspiring at the moment, but I will say that if Walker was the sort of individual to be nominated for the special elections last time, he would have done worse than Perdue and probably even Loeffler. I think if they reran Loeffler, it would probably end for them better in the state of Georgia at this point. And the state of Arizona would classify as tilt Republican. I won't go as far as to say it is going to be the last hurrah for the Republicans in the state, but it's pretty obvious where things are headed. And despite Hispanic trends, they are there in Arizona, but it's still nothing compared to the rest of the Southwest, really, besides New Mexico and to a smaller extent Colorado. But Hispanics are not the destiny of the state of Arizona. And so for that reason, it's probably going to be Democratic by several points by the end of the decade. But for now, Blake Masters which this is more saying about how bad the other candidates are, and this is a problem. He is substantially better than people in Pennsylvania, Georgia, or you could even argue New Hampshire. And so for that and the purplish pink of Arizona, I think he is going to win. So we bring to Nevada. I actually kind of have a hot take. Laxalt is not that good of a candidate, but I do think he will end up winning because of the trends, which is kind of opposite from Arizona. But Laxalt is also a better candidate still than Masters and such, so that should help him pull ahead. And our last one, the state of New Hampshire. I am going to put it as tilt Democratic. Maybe we're just going a bit too much with the biases, but frankly, I think Sununu not running did cost them the race. If Sununu ran, it probably wouldn't even be likely Republican. It would just be safe. But things don't always work out for both parties, and both parties take L's like this. So at the end of the day, a lot of this evens out despite the talking. But yeah, that's pretty much the final map. 53 Republican seats, 47 Democratic seats, and the vast majority of them are safe, as is common with presidential, Senate, and even district elections in this country. But yeah, we'd have some more content for you later. I'll be doing a New York special election, not actual night, but the night before, and it will just be a prediction. But yeah, we'll get that to you tomorrow, and after that, we'll be doing a governor's map later in the week. But yeah, that's all I got for you now. Stay happy, stay healthy, and see each other soon. Take care.